Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday. That means we got a banger episode of Quick Hits for your Tuesday morning. We got college football that we're talking about. We got college basketball that we're talking about. The season began last week, and I told y'all that I'd be talking some college basketball because I like my basketball with a side of basketball. So that's the reason why we're talking about it. Got men's and women's action. Got the NHL going on as well. And of course, you got my Tuesday 5-4-5. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Have that cup of coffee, have that breakfast with me, Podcast Smitty. Let's go.
Can't fall off, now they holler he'll turn, thinking I'ma sell out, talking just to feel heard. I never listen, although they say it's strictly.
Welcome to Quick Hits. I'm your host, Shannon Smith, aka Podcast Smitty. If you're new to the show, what's good? I'm Shannon. I love covering sports. I am a fan of sport. And Quick Hits is a podcast that drops every Tuesday and every Friday, getting you some of your sports highlights, your headlines, some comic relief. So, hey, spend a little time with me. Have a little bit of fun. Let's get this sports taken care of. Be entertained. Be enlightened. And enjoy it nonetheless. But if you're one of my quick hitting brothers and sisters, ouch! Welcome back. We're not going to spend too much time on an intro. We're going to go ahead and get these sports because we got a lot to talk about. So let's start the show. I'm very happy to be adding on college basketball to Quick Hits as it began this past week. It's been really, really good, but I'm going to be covering Friday and Saturday's games as we talk about them right now. Unfortunately, I got to start with some sad news for myself as my ninth-ranked North Carolina Tar Heels went down to Kansas by the score of 92-89. Lawrence, Kansas. That hurts. They had a 20-point deficit. They were facing a 20-point deficit, but they were able to cut it, but lost by 3. Hunter Dickinson with 20 and 10 in that game. Seth Trimble with 19 points. It was a good game, good effort by my Tar Heels. Unfortunately, just not enough. And as we keep going down, Alabama, who looks like they're a formidable squad, your number 2 team in the nation as we speak, getting a big win against Arkansas State, 88-79. Duke, who had a very, very impressive recruiting class coming in, of course, with number 1 player Cooper Flagg being talked about, getting his first double-double, 13 points, 11 boards, 100 to 58 is the final score on Friday as they played Army. Easy game for the Blue Devils. Pains me to say that more than anything, but Texas A&M plays East Texas A&M, beating them 87-55. Purdue 72-50, beating Northern Kentucky. Marquette winning against George Mason 82-63, with David Joplin scoring 27 points. Impressive game, and had 10 rebounds. Your number 18 squad, Marquette, getting a good win. Texas, your number 19 squad, beating Houston Christian 90-59. And Cincinnati beating Morehead State 83-56. Easy game there for Cincinnati. And this game was actually pretty cool. I like this here as the New Mexico Lobos getting the win against the number 22 UCLA Bruins. Nelly Jr. Joseph getting his 45th career double-double in this game with 16 points and 12 rebounds, leading his squad over with an upset. This was an upset here. Very good game by the Lobos, and Ole Miss ending your Friday of your top 25 basketball, beating Grambling 66-64 as we will move into Saturday's games, which Saturday's games were really, really good as well too. UConn, our defending champion of the men's college basketball, winning 92-53 against New Hampshire. And Auburn, who I think is my sleeper team in the SEC. I like this squad. They're a very, very fast squad. Beat the Houston Cougars with the getting the upset. They were number 11 team in the nation. Auburn was. Houston was number 4, beating them 74-69. Really, really competitive game here. And Baylor, who unfortunately got their doors blown off by the Gonzaga Bulldogs this past week, get the retribution as they beat the Razorbacks of Arkansas 72-67. This is John Calipari's first year coaching the Razorbacks after leaving Kentucky abruptly. He ends up getting a loss to Baylor. And as Arizona played Old Dominion, beating them convincingly 102-44. Tennessee 77-55 win against Louisville of the ACC. And Kentucky rounding out your Saturday action 100-72 as they played Bucknell and beat them convincingly. Though this is a very, very developing season. Only 2 games being played by most of these guys. There's more basketball to be coming. And you know me, I love my basketball with a side of basketball. Your men's basketball quick hits are here. And of course, let's go to the women's game now. The women's game has been very, very interesting as well, too. Let me pull up these women's scores. Give me a second. Bear with me as the women's scores will be coming up as we're doing this right now, watching a little football as we speak. Dallas and Philadelphia on the TV right now. No Dak Prescott for Dallas right now. Cooper Rush in there. Looks like he almost threw a touchdown right there. Almost threw one. So let's see these women's scores right here, as they had some pretty good stuff going on here on Friday and Saturday. Get it all here. Okay, let me get to Friday, as we got Friday coming up here. LSU started out on Friday. Very, very good matchup. Not really. They beat them down 95-36, which was Northwestern State. Flajay Johnson, 24 points and 7 rebounds in that game. LSU, number 7 in the nation. They're a very, very fast squad, very strong squad here in the SEC. They're going to need it. They're going to need it this year as they're looking to get back to that Final Four, that national championship where they were at a couple years back. Oklahoma beating Virginia 95-51, your number 10 team in the nation when it comes to the women's college basketball. Number 17, Louisville, 75-51 over Southern Indiana. Creighton losing the game 71-76. They were the 21st team in the nation. They lost to South Dakota State. Brooklyn Myers scored 17 points. Madison Mathewitz scored 13. South Dakota State getting the upset and the statement win on top of that as well. So Saturday comes into play here as USC, who probably has the best player among women's college basketball, the sophomore Juju Watkins, coming into her sophomore year, 90-35 win against Cal Poly. Too easy there. West Virginia even easier against Niagara University, beating them 110-41. West Virginia outscored Niagara 27-9 in the first quarter alone. And Nebraska ended up beating Southeastern Louisiana 78-68. Nebraska, your 23 team in the nation among women's college basketball. Great time of year to watch some more hoops. Hey, y'all thought I was going to stop talking women's basketball. I'm going to be talking about it until the WNBA begins again this summer. This is your college basketball quick hits for this week. And of course, again, I get to brag because the NHL is covered by Quick Hits, covered by Podcast Smitty. And we're going to talk about these games. These are the games from Friday and Saturday. I'll be coming with the rest of them on Friday's show after that because there are some highlights, of course. So let's go ahead and get to these Friday games. Of course, starting out the Friday games, the Red Wings and the Maple Leafs. The Leafs winning 3-1 in that game. And then the Penguins winning 4-2 against the Washington Capitals. We'll be getting back to the Washington Capitals later on in the next slate of games for Saturday. Then the Minnesota Wild, 5-2. 5-2 win over the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. They've been dropping some games lately. Not been good for the Ducks as we speak. And then the Golden Knights going into overtime with the Seattle Kraken. But they ended up losing 4-3. Let's get Saturday's games up as we talk about that, because there's plenty to talk about with Saturday. The Buffalo Sabres coming up with the win 3-2 in overtime. They went to the shootout, but they were able to win the shootout. The Buffalo Sabres did. 3-2 is your final. The Winnipeg Jets, and I'll talk about them again. I'll talk about them right now as we speak. Hallebuck, who has been playing some great hockey in between those pipes. Connor Hallebuck, 32 saves in that game. The Dallas Stars were considered one of the front-running squads to go for the Stanley Cup. They're 8-5 right now. They're inside of the same division as the Winnipeg Jets. There's still a lot of hockey left being played, but the Winnipeg Jets set an NHL record for their first 15 games, winning 14 of 15 games. Only had one loss inside these 15 games. They have played some great hockey. Very, very good players. They have at least 10 players with at least 10 points on their squad. They've had some great goaltending here. They've been easily the best team in the NHL right now. Now, with 67 games left in the NHL as we speak, as I'm recording this on a Sunday, there's 67 games left in the NHL regular season. Anything can happen. But in these 15 games, the Winnipeg Jets have owned the NHL. They've been playing very, very well. Very fun squad to watch. They pulled off a big win with the Dallas Stars, 4-1 on Saturday. And then the Flyers played the defending champion Florida Panthers. The Panthers winning 4-3 in that game. The Panthers still playing great, picking up where they left off, an 11-3-1 record, 5-1-1 at home this season. The Ottawa Senators getting a win against the Bruins in overtime, 3-2. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-1 against their Canadian rivals, the Montreal Canadiens. And this game right here was a really good one. The New York Rangers pulling off the only shutout of the games on Saturday, 4-0. Jonathan Quick, the long tenured goalie, 37 saves, a 1.0 save percentage in this game. Incredible play by Jonathan Quick, who is a veteran goalie, and the New York Rangers, who won the President's Trophy last year. Best record in the NHL, looking to get further and get to that Stanley Cup. They're a hard squad to play. They're a hard squad to beat, but they were able to do it. And then the final for the Capitals and the Blues was 8-1 as Alexander Ovechkin getting goal number 863 as he is on the quest to beat Wayne Gretzky's record. He ended up pulling off 2 goals in that game as they routed the St. Louis Blues. We're all counting for Alexander Ovechkin. Can he break this record at 39 years old? Let's see what he has, as we've got more games left to play in the NHL, and he's looking to get it done. The New Jersey Devils picking up an overtime win against the New York Islanders. Their goaltending has been incredible this year. They've had some great goaltending, 10-5-2 on the year so far within the thick of these games. And the Utah Hockey Club dropping it to the Nashville Predators 4-0. Looks like the Predators are trying to find some type of chemistry after starting off their first 5 games not winning any games, winless in their first 5 games. They're starting to mount up some type of chemistry. We will see. And this game I like to call the podcast Smitty game here, because both of my squads are playing the Carolina Hurricanes and the Colorado Avalanche. Both of my squads here. The Hurricanes come on the short end of the stick, lose 6-4. Nathan McKinnon, 4 points in the game, 1 goal, 3 assists. He's been playing incredibly well. Nathan McKinnon, one of my favorite players in all of the NHL. He's a great player, and he's willing that Avalanche squad, as at first they were wavering. They're starting to rattle off some type of wins, but they got to have some help. Goaltending, that's been the Achilles heel of the Colorado Avalanches, the inept goaltending. But one of the biggest things for the Hurricanes has been their goaltending. They have some great goaltending. Of course, they've got to get more points on the board, and they've been able to score the past few games. But this one, they fall short to my Colorado Avalanche. And the Los Angeles Kings coming up short to the Columbus Blue Jackets 5-2. No, they ended up winning. Sorry about that. The Los Angeles Kings won that game against the Blue Jackets 5-2. The Los Angeles Kings 9-4-3 on the year. Playing some good hockey, though. The St. Louis Blues, of course, 5-6-2. They're away from home, 1-3-2. Not really a great away record. But let's see what we've got going on these next 67 games. And the final game for Saturday was the Vancouver Canucks playing the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers have been on a skid lately. They lost Connor McDavid, but he ended up coming back last week ahead of schedule. And Connor McDavid had a very good game with 1 goal and 2 assists as the Oilers are getting back to their scoring ways. Leon Draisaitl with a goal and an assist in that game as well, too, against the Vancouver Canucks. The hockey is getting good. 67 games left in the regular season as of Sunday, but there will be more coming that evening. There'll be more coming for the rest of the week. I'll hit you with the rest of the hockey highlights on this Friday episode of Quick Hits. But until then, enjoy your Quick Hits for the game of hockey on your Tuesday episode. When it comes to college football, of course, you know you can get all that on this here podcast called Quick Hits. I'm so thankful to bring you to college football every single week. And this week was wild. Now, this weekend signaled that we have one more month of regular season college football. And this week served up some great games, some great wins, and some very, very tough losses inside of conference play. Let's start with our blowout wins. Of course, Oregon, who has been sitting atop the AP poll for the past 4 weeks, makes short work of Maryland. Ohio State destroying Purdue 45-0. Texas over Florida. Penn State over Washington, a very convincing win after Penn State had their loss to Ohio State last week. Tennessee over Mississippi State. And Notre Dame let Florida State kick a field goal and scored 52 unanswered points to destroy them 52-3. And Washington State rounding it out with a rout of Utah State. And we had some near brushes this week. Indiana winning 20-15 over the defending national champion Michigan Wolverines. BYU in the Holy War against Utah. Escape it. 22-21. Boise State, after a wonderful, wonderful game on the ground for Ashton Jeanty, where he put up 209 yards and 3 touchdowns. Ashton Jeanty has put up 3 touchdowns in 5 games this year. If it were up to me, he'd be your Heisman Trophy winner. We gotta wait till December to see what's going on. But I think that he should win that Heisman Trophy. I feel like he's a shoo-in for it. But we'll see. They escape 28-21 against Nevada. Clemson getting the win over Virginia Tech by 10. And Army getting an 11-point win against North Texas. The Mean Green trying to get it done, couldn't get it done. These conference games are getting more interesting, getting better and better. These big squads, they got to watch out, which leads me into these statement wins that we had this week. Ole Miss, even with Jackson Dart being hobbly in the game, go and beat Georgia. Big time win for Ole Miss. Big win for them against Georgia. and a bad loss for Georgia, as we can see. As Georgia, they fall down in this one, they're going to fall down in the rankings. And Colorado over at Texas Tech. Listen, y'all, whether you love or hate Coach Prime, what can you say bad about that man? After last year, 4-8 squad last year, standing alone as the number 2 squad in the Big 12, in their first year in the Big 12. They're in there, number 2 behind BYU, big time football, getting up to 18th in the nation. Coach Prime, in my opinion, got to be Coach of the Year. Bringing some of his guys from Jackson State, bringing them in, putting them on that squad, making them premier players into the transfer portal, getting the guys he needs, setting up his coaching staff. This squad right here is playing some very good football, and they deserve it. I think Coach Prime deserves Coach of the Year. That's just me saying it. But he's done a wonderful job with this Colorado squad as they beat Texas Tech convincingly this week. And, of course, we got our tank jobs. Georgia Tech, big upset this year, beating Miami by 5 points, 28-23. I watched that game. Whew, it was a barn burner. It was a barn burner. It was a big hit in that game. One of the poor kids, he got his face mask yanked, and then his helmet got knocked completely off. Rough and tumble game, but Georgia Tech pulling through and beating out Miami. Virginia Tech beating out Pitt, beating them by 5, 24-19 in that game. And then Kansas over Iowa State, the Jayhawks. I've had more Jayhawks than I can stand this weekend, and you'll see why later. Of course, they end up beating Iowa State. Iowa State looking like a pretender. They were a contender at one point, looking like a pretender now, as they dropped their second straight game after being undefeated. And Alabama playing LSU. Alabama, and LSU had that barn burner of a game that went in overtime when a young man by the name of Jaden Daniels pulled out a big win and told them, hand me the Heisman Trophy. And they did last year, but I was in Tuscaloosa. Alabama went into Death Valley and not only won, they won sensationally. 29-point victory against the LSU Tigers in the depths of Death Valley. With all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into this crazy top 25 as this has been rearranged and got a facelift. We'll start by welcoming back Penn State into the top 5 as they come in as your number 4 team in the nation. And a new face sitting at number 5, the Indiana Hoosiers, Coach Smitty, getting his troops into the top 5 for the first time in almost 40 years. Big props to Coach Smitty in that Indiana Hoosiers football squad. Now, spots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the AP top 5 are occupied by Big Ten squads. Major props to the Big Ten for some good football being played right now. And welcome back, Alabama and Ole Miss, back into the top 10 after they've had some absences after some losses that they had this season. And Mizzou getting back into the top 25 as they come in as your number 24 team in the nation. They got knocked out last week after a loss. They're back in this week. And welcome to the party known as the top 25 for my co-host at the Cat Cave, Ryan Frick, his alma mater, South Carolina, getting into the top 25 alongside of the Green Wave of Tulane University as they're your 23 and 25 ranked team in the nation. Georgia and Miami drop out of the top 10 this year. And LSU dropping from 14th to 21st in the nation. My, how the mighty have fallen. And Iowa State, Pitt, and Vandy, you ain't got to go home. but you got to get out of here. These are your unranked teams. They were in the 25. They're not anymore, as they're unranked now in this week's AP poll. Guys, we've got a month left of college football. These conference games, these rivalry games are going to see what you're made of as the bowl pictures being painted. The conference championships are being painted as we speak. These pictures are being painted as we speak. And I tell you what a time it is to be a fan of college football. Thank you for watching. These are your college football quick hits. We will be back on Friday to make picks for this coming week. So stick around for Friday's show. These are your quick hits for today. Decided to throw the hoodie on a little bit. It got a little cold in the house. We're not running the heat yet because it's not gotten extremely cold here in North Carolina. So got the hoodie on, repping my Tar Heels. Unfortunately, we lost this game. But to end the show, of course, I'm going to hit you with my 5 for 5. So for Tuesday, I always do the 5 for 5s. That's where I take a category and I give you my top 5 in it. All of these have a theme to go with the show. And then the last top 5 I give you is going to be something like totally away from sports. Don't want it to be all about sports. I want to have some fun for my non-sporting people. Now, the rules for the 5 for 5 for me is that when I give you my top 5, I'm not going to give you something that I never seen. And I'll give you an example for that. So this is something that I've seen and something that I've had. Like, for example, my very first top 5 that I'm giving you will be my top 5 TD celebrations of all time. Now, all 5 of these celebrations I've seen. This isn't something that I'm digging in that was from 1960. I wasn't alive then. I'm going to give you what I've seen with my own 2 eyes. So let's go ahead and get it going with my top 5 touchdown celebrations of all time. So I'm going to go ahead and go with number 5. And number 5 is Joe Horn's cell phone celebration. That was probably one of the most creative things I've ever seen out of a celebration. Joe Horn scores the touchdown, goes under the goalposts, goes and gets the cell phone. He said he called his son during that one. So that was hilarious. Monday Night Football, I remember that. Joe Horn, the Saints receiver, revolutionizing the touchdown celebration on that one. So Joe Horn's cell phone celly is your number 5. Number 4 is the gritty. The gritty, definitely a new dance that the kids are using, the kids are doing. I like it. Very good celebration. Justin Jefferson making it famous. Justin Jefferson doing the gritty. So it's made its way to the NBA. Ja Morant doing it. Everybody's done the gritty. When I was substitute teaching, kids would do the gritty all the time. So yes, the gritty's cool. I like the dance. Really, really cool. Real fun. Something new for the kids to enjoy. So the gritty being number 4. And my number 3 touchdown celebrations of all time is anything Terrell Owens did. Terrell Owens did a lot of fun stuff in the NFL. Terrell Owens pulling out the Sharpie and autographing the ball. Terrell Owens taking the pom-poms from one of the cheerleaders and doing cheers with the pom-poms. That was fun. And then Terrell Owens going to the middle of the Cowboys stadium and standing on the star. That second time George Teague decided he wasn't going to let that happen again. So yes, anything Terrell Owens did, it was pure entertainment, absolute cinema. Loved it. T.O. was a 49ers receiver for a while, went to the Cowboys, went to Philadelphia, went to Baltimore, all that other stuff. So yes, anything Terrell Owens did is my number 3 greatest TD celebrations of all time. Number 2, of course, the reason why I'm doing this top 5 is because Shiloh Sanders imitated his father on Saturday when they played Texas Tech, doing the primetime dance. Shador Sanders done the same thing. imitating their famous father, Coach Prime. So number 2 all time, it's only right. The primetime dance. I like doing that dance when I was a kid. I learned it. I'm a big fan of Deion Sanders. Always loved Deion Sanders. Even though he was a Cowboy. Ugh. But when he was a 49er, loved him. Coach Prime, kudos what you're doing in Colorado. I loved you as a player. Love you as a man. Love you as a coach. But the primetime dance is undefeated. I love it. Great celebration. One of my favorites of all time. So the primetime dance is number 2. And number 1 all time is Homer Jones's Spike. Yes, I know. Bland celebration. I get it. But the Spike has stood the test of time. Yes, it was originated back in the 60s. No, I wasn't alive then. But everyone uses the Spike. Come on. When you tie the game up, you do that big spike of the football. Everybody's done it. You get the touchdown. You spike the football. Everybody has spiked the football. At one point in time, they've spiked it. So the Spike originated by Homer Jones. Number 1 touchdown celebration of all time in my eyes. I'm curious to hear your top 5 touchdown celebrations of all time. Drop them in the comments. Let's hear. With all the making and celebrating of Alexander Ovechkin going for Wayne Gretzky's record, he stands at 863 as of Sunday evening right now that I'm recording this. I'm going to go ahead and give you my top 5 NHL goal scorers of all time, according to me. Once again, these are goal scorers that I grew up watching and that I've seen. These are my guys that I'm going to have if I need that goal. My greatest goal scorers of all time in my eyes. Number 5, starting with number 5, I got to go with the Golden Brett. Brett Hull. No, not Brett Wiseman. Going with Brett Hull. Brett Hull is one of my favorite players. Dual citizenship, was a great U.S. player. Bobby Hull's son, called Bobby Hull the Golden Jet. He was called the Golden Brett. Revolutionized hockey here in the States. One of the most famous players. Wonderful goal scorer. Brett Hull. Great hockey player. One of my favorites growing up on that Dallas Stars squad. That he played with Mike Modano on the side. On the same line as Mike Modano. Played for the St. Louis Blues. Played for the Calgary Flames. He's played all over the place. Great hockey player. Legendary. And number 5 all time in goals scored in a career. So the Golden Brett. Brett Hull at number 5. And number 4. Got to go with Super Mario. Mario Lemieux. Now, Mario Lemieux is number 11 all time on the NHL's career goal scoring list. In my heart, I believe that he would have had more goals scored had he not had to retire due to Hodgkin's lymphoma and the health ailments that he was having. I figured that he would have more goals being scored. Super Mario, one of the best scorers in all of the NHL. Played on the back-to-back Stanley Cup squad with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Line mate to Jaromir Jagr. One of the best playmakers. One of the best natural hockey players to ever play the game. In my era, from when I started watching hockey in the 90s. Got to go with Super Mario. Mario Lemieux, you're the man. Number 4, Super Mario. And number 3, I gotta go with his line mate. Talking about him, Jaromir Jagr. Jagr is number 4 all-time goal scoring. Jagr was one of the most prolific goal scorers when Mario Lemieux was retired. Of course, Jaromir Jagr took up where his teammate left off and was one of the most prolific goal scorers for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jagr scored it from anywhere, one of the best slap shots of all time. Very, very quick score from the Czech Republic. Jaromir Jagr, my number 3 guy. And then, of course, number 2, we got to go with Alexander Ovechkin. Ali Ovechkin, one of the best goal scorers. He's number 2 on the list right now. He's been scoring it all day long with the Washington Capitals. He and Sid the Kid had the battle from when they came into the league together of who was the better player. Sid the Kid hoisted more cups, more Hart trophies. Yes, he's got the singles hardware, but Alexander Ovechkin, one of the most dangerous players on the breakaway, one of the hardest slap shots around, natural goal scorer, has a great mind, very good on the power play. Alexander Ovechkin, number 2 all time. And y'all, you saw it coming. I know you did. My number 1 goal scorer, if I need that guy to score the goals, it's got to be the great one, the GOAT, Wayne Gretzky. That's it. That's it. That's all you got to say. Now, I'll tell you what, he was one of the best goal scorers, one of the best passers of all time. If you took away Wayne Gretzky's goals scored, which he's all-time career goal scorer, most goals scored in a career. If you took away his goals, he still has the most points all time in the NHL because of his assists. 1,930, I believe, is the number of assists that he has. Gretz made plays, but he was a dangerous scorer, very skilled skater, fast skater on top of that too, natural hockey player. He was playing hockey at a very, very young age, had the mind frame already, was dubbed the Great One, played on that Edmonton Oilers squad, goes over to Los Angeles, plays with St. Louis for a stint, goes to the New York Rangers. His number 99 has been retired by the NHL. Nobody can wear the number 99 in the NHL ever. So Wayne Gretzky, all-time greatest goal scorer, best goal scorer in my eyes. I got to watch Wayne Gretzky when I was young. He was bigger than Mike in his sport. Wayne Gretzky, the GOAT. So who are your guys that's going to be scoring your goals? Who is your top 5 of NHL goal scorers? I'd like to hear it. Now, I got to talk about the Heisman Trophy on last episode, this past weekend's episode of Quick Hits. Go back to that and hear my analysis on who I think should win the Heisman Trophy. So I got to talk about it. So I got to thinking about the Heisman Trophy winners of my lifetime and my top 5 of Heisman Trophy winners. This is from my lifetime right here. So let's go ahead and let's talk about him here. Number 5 all time to me is Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson was the Heisman Trophy winner when Peyton Manning and he were going for it. Charles Woodson won it. One of the only defensive players to win the Heisman Trophy. I think he's the 4th defensive player ever to win it. He was a prolific punt returner, great kick returner, but he was a lockdown corner. Of course, Charles Woodson immortalized one of the best corners to play the game when it comes down to cover corners. Charles Woodson's the man. He was great as a Michigan Wolverine. Charles Woodson gotta be my 5th all-time Heisman Trophy winner, Charles Woodson. And number 4, I gotta go with Ricky Williams. That Texas Longhorn running back, Ricky Williams, definitely one of the top running backs in all of college football at that time. Devastating runner for Texas. Ricky was incredible. I remember watching highlights of Ricky. I believe I was in the 7th grade when that was going on. Ricky ripped it up. The New Orleans Saints, when they drafted him, they mortgaged the farm for Ricky Williams. Ricky was one of the most devastating runners in the NFL at that time. Went to Miami. Ricky was all that. Very good downhill runner, ran with a lot of great force. Ricky Williams, definitely one of my favorites to watch at that time. So Ricky Williams, my number 4 Heisman Trophy winner, best all time to me. Number 3, I got to go with Johnny Manziel. I got to go with Johnny. Johnny was fun to watch. Johnny freestyled it. He was NFL street basically when he was with Texas A&M. So you got to think about it though. If Johnny Manziel watched film, if Johnny actually perfected his craft, what type of quarterback he could have been. Johnny was gifted with his feet, knew how to improvise and extend plays. He was a very, very prolific player, was prolific in high school. Johnny Manziel, he was a very, very good quarterback in college. Didn't manifest in the pros because of off-field stuff. He got in a lot of trouble. Shouldn't have done that. I hate that. He ruined his career like that. Empathy, but no sympathy, if you will. Watching that interview with him and Shannon Sharp, that was actually really cool. Got to see a different side of Johnny Manziel when I watched the documentary on him. I just saw how good he was. If he would have just perfected his craft, what Johnny Manziel could have been. So number 3 of Heisman Trophy winners, Johnny Manziel. And number 2, I got to go with Joe Burrow. Joe was putting up mad numbers when he was at LSU. He's in the NFL. He's putting up big numbers right now as we speak. But Joe was incredible when he was at LSU. Joe was throwing 4 and 5 and 6 touchdown games at LSU, just throwing the ball, throwing the rock very well. Absolutely polarizing player that Joe Burrow was. So number 2, gotta be Smoking Joe. Joe Burrow. And the greatest, the best Heisman Trophy, my number 1 Heisman Trophy winner of all time, it's gotta be Cam Newton. Cam went 1 year at Auburn. 1 year. Had his trouble at Florida. Went junior college, won a junior college national championship. Then goes to Auburn in 1 year. And Cam looked like he was the greatest. He's in argument of being the greatest college football player of all time. Cameron Jarrell Newton, bad man over at Auburn, goes to Carolina, number 1 overall pick. Cam tore up the NFL as well, too, for a short time. I wish it was a little longer. But Cam was one of the most fun players to watch when it came down to college football over at Auburn. Great player, went undefeated, goes to the national championship, absolutely kills it. Great job of Cam Newton. Probably one of the best college football players ever to play, one of the best college quarterbacks ever to play. Great numbers, dynamic numbers. Number 1 on my Heisman Trophy list, Cam Newton. Let's hear your top 5 best Heisman Trophy winners of all time. Well, since I can't have my own wrestling podcast because there are 3 great wrestling podcasts here on Boom Broadcasting, it's not going to stop me from talking about wrestling. So the next top 5 is going to be my top 5 wrestling factions of all time. Again, these are factions that I grew up with. Factions that I seen. I grew up in that Attitude Era, like stepping into the Attitude Era, from the Golden Age to the Attitude Era. So grew up with the Monday Night Wars, with the brand splits. So we're going to get our top 5. And of course, the reason why I brought this up is because, the Bloodline story is going on right now. And the Bloodline has been tearing up wrestling. Got WWE a good chunk of money, great viewership. So we're going to talk about these wrestling factions because of the Bloodline Civil War that is going on right now in WWE. So number 5 of all time for me, when it comes down to wrestling factions, is the Hart Foundation. I'm talking about the Hart Foundation with Bret and Owen Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and the British Bulldog. They were a great heel faction. I liked them really well. Rest in peace to Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Very, very great heel stable. I remember going to bed absolutely despising Bret Hart because of his heel work. Bret's a legend, one of the greatest to ever do it. Owen, hate what happened with him. Davey Boy Smith, I wish he would have got that WWE title from Triple H at that time. Jim the Anvil Neidhart, great tag team wrestler. Though I think that this was a great heel stable. They were fun to watch. I relate to them more now as an adult than I did as a kid. I couldn't stand them then, but they did great heel work. So the Hart Foundation, number 5. And number 4, Evolution. Evolution was like a mini 4 Horsemen, and it was a great idea. Ric Flair, Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista. Evolution was great. A great mix of the up-and-comers of Batista and Randy Orton to Triple H, who is pretty much the flagship of WWE at that time, and Ric Flair, the legend, the OG. Great faction, great way of putting it together. I didn't grow up with the 80s 4 Horsemen. I can't sit back here and say the 4 Horsemen. The reincarnation of the 4 Horsemen was really, really good. So that's a honorable mention with Dean Malenko, Steve Mongo McMichael, rest in peace, Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, and a guy we're not going to talk about. I'm going to leave him out of it. So yes. So let's go with Evolution at number 4. And number 3, Bullet Club. For life. Bullet Club, number 3. The Bullet Club was great. Definitely wonderful faction for New Japan. Enjoyed watching the manifestation of the Bullet Club from the OG Prince Devitt to now. So the Bullet Club is one of my favorites. I love that time where Cody and Kenny were going for who owned Bullet Club at that time. It was a great time to watch some wrestling outside of WWE. So it was great. I loved it. Still love the Bullet Club. Still got the shirts of Bullet Club. So Bullet Club, number 3. And number 2, got to go with DX. Number 2, DX. Boy, I got into a lot of trouble saying suck it back in the day. Whew. Oh, man. But DX was great. Shawn Michaels, Triple H. Then going into it with Triple H, X-Pac, the Road Dogg, and Billy Gunn. And rest in peace to Chyna. Excellent, excellent work with DX. Shout out to my childhood right there. DX, number 2. And number 1, the NWO. Let's just be honest here. The reason why we got the brand split in WWE is because of what the NWO did with WCW. Stapled to the Monday Night Wars, DX and NWO went at each other for the Monday Night Wars. It was a great time to be alive in wrestling. The NWO, the black and white, then going to the red and black, then merging them together. The NWO will go down to history. The heel turn of all heel turns when Hulk Hogan did his heel turn and revitalized his career with the new world order for life. So we got the NWO on that one. So yes, the Art Foundation, Evolution, Bullet Club, DX, and the NWO. That is my top 5 of wrestling factions. Let's hear yours. And the last one for our Tuesday 5 for 5. I decided to go a different route. Of course, I'm going to do one that's not about sports. So we'll go ahead and talk about it. Since it's fall and Thanksgiving is coming up, of course, with that main meal, you got to have pie. So this last 5 for 5 we have is my top 5 pies. Starting with number 5, we've got pumpkin pie. Of course, with whipped cream. Very, very nice for the fall. Pumpkin pie, number 5. Number 4, chocolate pie. Of course, chocolate pie with whipped cream. Always a staple for me. Number 3, we've got apple pie. Especially apple pie a la mode. With vanilla ice cream, of course. Apple pie a la mode. One of my favorites. Number 3 is your apple pie. Number 2, sweet potato pie. Love sweet potato pie. Once again, you know, some type of ice cream or whipped cream will go great with it. I love sweet potato pie. I'm a big fan of sweet potatoes. Love them. But then sweet potato pie is my second favorite pie of all time, sweet potato. And number one, and the greatest pie of all time. And no, there's not going to be whipped cream on this pie. The number one greatest pie is pizza. Yes, pizza is a pie. Yes, my favorite pie of all time is pizza. So we'll go back through it again. Number 5, you've got pumpkin pie. Number 4, you've got chocolate pie. Number 3, apple pie. Number 2, sweet potato. And the greatest pie of all time, pizza. Have a good Tuesday. See you guys on Friday. Love y'all. Take it easy.